I saw pictures of Jesus.
Hey now, think positively, all right? We talked about this.
I know. We hardly talk about anything else.
Story is king. And the makers of Resident Evil Village have definitely understood this. But it comes in this great package, right? Because the story stands on top of these two very strong pillars: action and ambience. And this video game has it all. It completes itself, and it just works. I love Resident Evil Village, mainly because I haven't played a single player video game that was this good in a long time. You know, in fact, we are in May, halfway through the year, and there's nothing else that can beat it. Right now, Resident Evil Village is the game you should probably get up until now in 2021. Get it, play it, enjoy it. It's worth every single moment. I highly recommend it.
Are you in love?
I am in love. Are you in love?
I'm in love too.
I agree.
If you're still around for the second part of the video, that's great. Here's why I love Resident Evil Village so much. It's set in Romania, somewhere in Transylvania, at least that's what they tell us. Doesn't really feel like Transylvania, and let me tell you exactly what's up with that. I've been there, I traveled, I know those places, and they get it very well. It doesn't feel like Transylvania, but it's definitely 100% a Romanian village. From the mountains, somewhere small, remote. They got the architecture just right. I saw dresses, Romanian national custom dresses. I saw paintings, I saw interior design. The rooftops look exactly like an old Romanian house. The interior, I saw pictures of Jesus, Christian Orthodox style. The furniture, tabletops, even like a chair with tapestry, exactly the way you would find in one of those Romanian houses. I've been there, I've seen it with my own eyes, and it looks exactly the same, which only means one thing. They took the time to either pay someone, an outsourced company, or maybe they went themselves. They took the pictures from an actual Romanian village and they just integrated that into the video game. Sure, in the video game it's, you know, much more exaggerated. You have a horror ambient. The houses look tear down, the village looks abandoned, everything is sort of like destroyed. I get it, it's for the sake of the ambient, but the details are there. When I saw the national dress, the one that women in the countryside wear, when I saw the paintings, when I saw the furniture in that chair, everything looked exactly the way it would look in a Romanian village. Very good. Right? Ambient and architecture, everything that immerses you into that is done perfect. Even inside the castle, they look genuine. Like they've been there, they took the pictures, they saw it, they filmed it, and they placed it inside the video game. I love it. It's very good. That's a lot of effort. They didn't have to do it, but they did do it. Those are 2 thumbs up. Resident Evil Village is a kind of first-person survival horror type of video game. But I believe that the emphasis this time around is placed on shooter and survival, maybe scavenging, rather than the horror part. I don't like to play horror games, not the typical horror games that you kind of are accustomed to. I like me a nice shooter, zombie shooter in particular. And this really fits right there. I think it has a couple of jump scares where you can't really shoot your way out of a situation. But other than that, the game gives you this time around, rather than what we saw in the 2019 Resident Evil 2 remastered and the one that came last year, 2020 Resident Evil 3 remastered. This time around, we have more weapons than before, more ammo than before, and it's more of a shooter. A bit horror shooter because it's still zombies and you get a bunch of scary stuff happening, but still a shooter. It doesn't really take from the survival element. In the back of your head, you're constantly thinking that, you know, you have to preserve ammo, you have to craft stuff, which is great. It keeps you engaged, but it's more of a shooter and less than just a typical horror game. And I absolutely love this about Village. You don't have to play the other Resident Evil video games in order to enjoy Village. This is a standalone video game. It has a very strong story. It motivates you from the beginning, which is great. Not all video games do that. It picks up along the way. You never forget what you're doing, why you're doing, and what is the main narrative. It drives you, it keeps you going. It's pretty short, roughly around 10 hours. Maybe you can push it somewhere into 15 hours, I guess. I finished it at almost 10 hours. And if you really use the hardest level of difficulty and you look at every nook and cranny, maybe you can push it, I guess, to 20 hours max of gameplay. But again, you don't have to play the other Resident Evil video games to have fun with this one, which comes with a little bit of a minus for those hardcore Resident Evil fans. You might not like so much the integration of the story in Village versus the entire Resident Evil universe. And I think that if you've never played a Resident Evil video game, you're much more willing to enjoy this one because you know nothing about what's happening outside the story. You're fresh, you're new, you're coming into this video game right away expecting something good, and you will get it. The story is top notch. Maybe it deviates a little bit from the actual Resident Evil kind of theme. So I understood, I read on the internet that, you know, fanboys of Resident Evil didn't find it that great. I know a little bit about the story, and it did felt that it's going off the beaten path. But as a standalone video game, the story is very good and everything in it. Just pick it up, enjoy it the way it is. Don't worry about the people that say that, it's not exactly Resident Evil. This is a good video game, a great product. As you can see behind me right now, I don't know if you can tell, I think that was that scene. It has a little bit of an RPG element. Behind me, you can find a merchant, the guy that was in the shot earlier. And you can buy ammo from him, you can upgrade your weapons, you can add weapon attachments to them, making your weapons a bit stronger, faster reload time, recoil control, and you can also upgrade the abilities of your character if you like to. You get the bigger HP bar and some, what was that, the blocking. You get the block more efficient. So you can also upgrade a little bit the stats of your character. You could say those are RPG elements. Maybe it's a bit far-fetched, but you have those. You didn't have in previous video games. And again, it just makes this more fun and makes this more shooter rather than horror because you feel a bit strong. You keep upgrading yourself, keep upgrading your weapons. You constantly can buy ammo from the guy, from the merchant. There's a merchant inside the game. And as you progress along the way, you don't really have to worry about it. You need to find ammo and stuff like that. You do need to preserve your ammunition. You can't just go spraying around. This isn't Call of Duty after all. And, it's a different thing. But you feel a bit more, I don't know, easy, more light. You feel a bit more confident that you can take on bad guys. And unlike 2019, 2020, the one that came out last year, in this one, you probably already heard it, but I have to say it, you get more zombies than ever. You get to shoot more zombies more than ever, which is again great. I love shooting zombies. I love me a shooter. And this is like right up my alley. And less puzzle making, more zombie shooting. You do have some puzzle making, not too much, a couple of closed doors here and there, but the emphasis is on action. That's very good. Jake Baldino said this, and I don't want to take credit for it. It was his idea, but I also feel, I think that's a bug. I also feel like he's very right, and I felt exactly the same. The game, for me, really feels at its best when the action kind of slows down and you just get to take in the ambience. It's a very good looking video game. It's nothing that you've never seen before. The exteriors, the forest, you know, the mountain path and stuff like that look as usual. You know, it's nothing special, but the interiors was what their game graphics really shine. The interiors are gorgeous. Probably one of the best interiors you've ever seen in any video game. But when the action dials down a little bit and it, you know, everything clears up and you have moments, you're walking through the village, you're walking through, you know, a house or the castle, you get to take in the scenery, the views. That ambience makes this video game so good. I just love to take in those sights. It looks and it feels great. I highly recommend it if you can play this video game with headphones on. There's not a lot of jump scares. There's not a lot of scary horror stuff, even though it is a horror video game. But it's not like that. I probably shook myself like once or twice. That's it. But that ambience and just the wind from the forest and everything, you just immerse yourself in it. It's good. Like it's one of the top things that I absolutely love about this video game. Here's the fat guy that I was talking to you about, the merchant where you can upgrade your stuff. I finished this around 10 hours, give or take, and I played it straight up the bat at version 1.0. There were no updates. I think they had day one patch. Correct me if I'm wrong. We can check this on Steam. But I felt, you know, it was 1.0, so no updates. It's very well made. No bugs. The only time I felt like there was sort of like a glitch was when there were like two zombies and they were supposed to attack me, and for some reason it didn't trigger the moment. That was it. I felt like that might have been a bug. Out of 10 hours of straight up gameplay where I finished the video game, just that one little hiccup, I didn't see any bad geometry. I didn't see mobs getting stuck. I didn't see stuff flowing. I didn't walk through walls. The game never crashed on me. This is a very well polished video game. And speaking of performance, I am not the best person to talk about this because I don't really know how to talk about it. You probably find more stuff on YouTube. For me, on the box that you see behind me, the computer, it's a mediocre computer, gaming computer, nothing too fancy. I was able to run it on that monitor, 2K, 70, 80 frames per second at everything almost set to the max settings. It looked absolutely gorgeous. That's not my footage. That's not my gameplay that you see behind me. That's just some random stuff I found on YouTube, not me. I recorded the whole thing, but I figured that here's the thing. The performance is great, fantastic. I love it. Here's the thing. This video game lasts about 10 hours. Again, maybe you can push it to 15 hours. I don't know. Depends on your play style. There's very little to almost no moments when there are no spoilers. In fact, what you might be seeing behind me may be some spoilers. He's just walking through the forest, not much. But everything constantly keeps happening with the story. You don't get bored. Something always happens. I love it, man. You get 10, 15 hours of great fun, zero repetition, no farming, none of that stuff. Cut to the chase, great story, great ambient, great graphics, wonderful performance, no bugs. It's a fantastic video game. And if I would have shown you those, usual reviews that I do, I feel that I would have given you more spoilers. From the beginning, the first 10 to 15 minutes of gameplay, that alone, the story really grabs you, and that alone could be a spoiler for you, and it just continues. And it just keeps changing, and always things are happening. It just keeps you engaged. 10, 15 hours of just engagement. I love it. When do you get stuff like that? Because I play video games all the time, and you don't get stuff like that. You really don't. So far, Resident Evil Village for me, we are almost halfway through the year. This is May. Game of the year. Nothing else has come out so far that can trump Village. It's a very good product. It's a very good video game. I know a couple of more heavy hitters, if you like to call them like that, are gonna come around October, November. But so far, Game of the Year.
Took your damn time.
You're welcome.